Heaven Official's Blessing. Chapter 244. Audio source: WuXiaWorldAudiobook.com. By the Heaven Official's blessing, no paths are bound. Congratulations, 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 Your Highness. The newly built Puchi shrine was bustling and lively, people going in and out, and Xie Lian traversed through several long tables that were stacked full, delivering hot, steamy bowls after bowls of noodles flowing out like water, soups with oil glistening like gold, and snow-white, mouth-watering rice. He was swamped running about and still had to greet the guests, taking time out of the tasks in his hands to say, "Thank you, please have a seat." The Puchi shrine that had unfortunately collapsed in a brawl had been rebuilt. After rebuilding, the once dilapidated little shrine was now much more sumptuous, and a few new yards were even added. It wasn't actually Xie Lian or Hua Cheng who had reconstructed, but those villagers of Puchi village. That day, when Xie Lian fled in disgrace, they rummaged through the wreckage and actually found a box full of gold bars. Naturally, it was the bunch that Quan Yijun had stuffed into his donation box day after day. Those villagers had never seen so much gold and were almost scared out of their wits. After they came to their senses, the village head took a part of it to rebuild Puchi shrine, and didn't dare to touch the rest of it, keeping it safe until Xie Lian returned to give back to him. Thus, when Xie Lian returned bringing Hua Cheng, besides the enthusiastic greetings of Dao Zhang and Xiaohua, what also welcomed them were a brand new Taoist shrine and a box heavy with gold bars. Xie Lian had planned to return those gold bars to Quan Yijun, but Quan Yijun wouldn't have it, refusing them left and right until Hua Cheng told him, "If you don't take those gold bars back, you can forget about the correct method in nurturing souls." Only then did this child settle and change the bad habit of stuffing gold bars blindly to people. After making their greetings, the group of heavenly officials, with Muqing leading, crossed into the yard cautiously. They looked up inadvertently, and when they saw the full looks of this Taoist shrine, all their words were instantly stuck in their throats. Gaudy, too gaudy. The bright reds and greens of celebratory colors and that exceedingly exaggerated, rainbow-colored divine statue weren't the worst of it. The worst was that establishment plaque. Just what was written, or drawn, on that establishment plaque? With the establishment of a new shrine, naturally there need to be a celebration. But this new shrine's class and taste were terrible and tacky in every sense. Especially with that despairing establishment plaque, and it made it really hard for anyone to have compliments leave their lips. In fact, all the congratulatory phrases they had already thought of beforehand were thoroughly forgotten. However, Xie Lian didn't mind any of this at all, and thought it was rather good. At least it wasn't a dilapidated building that could collapse at any time. He greeted again. "Please have a seat." That group of heavenly officials didn't look like they wanted to sit, and coming to congratulate was probably just to show their faces, so they hurried and left after delivering their gifts. Xie Lian turned to Muqing. "Why did they leave in such a hurry? Do you even need to ask?" Muqing said. "Yes," Xie Lian replied. Muqing spat crankily. "Then why don't you go ask your good Sen Lang?" Turns out, when Hua Cheng first came back, the first one to know was Xie Lian, and the second was the upper court that hadn't even warmed its seat yet. Not just because it wasn't too long ago that the Battle of the Lanterns of Shang Yuan festival that they worked so hard to put together was suddenly murdered by Hua Cheng's casual wave of 3,000 lanterns just like that time during the Mid-Autumn Banquet, but also because ever since that night, that bell started ringing like crazy, and the entire upper court was echoing with the sound of its announcement, like it was reminding them, the nightmare of the heavens has returned. The nightmare was right before their eyes, so of course normal heavenly officials didn't dare to approach. However, the rumors about Hua Cheng and Xie Lian in the upper court were already fairly hardcore without any need of exaggeration. So they still kind of wanted to get in Xie Lian's good graces, so in the future they could beg Hua Cheng to show some mercy. Xie Lian learned of this, and recalled how in the past Hua Cheng had demanded the upper court proclaim his heroic achievements for an entire year, and laughed. Mischievous. This is not just a matter of mischievousness. Mu Qing scolded. Tell him to lay off a little, it's getting out of control. Right now that bell is so noisy every day, no one can concentrate, and the entire upper court can't work. It'd even fall off time and time again, crashing on people. The new heavenly capital is finally rebuilt, don't let something like this destroy it again. Alright, Xie Lian said. I'll tell him in a bit. While we're here, wanna try? He pointed at the rice, noodles, and soups on the tables in the yard, and added, I didn't make those. When Mu Qing heard the first part, his expression was cold, rejection written all over his face, and it only returned to normal after hearing the last part. Right then, Feng Xin had arrived too. He entered the yard just in time to brush by another several junior officials who were about to leave. They made their greetings, then whispered, It's General Nanyang. It's him. So sad. His wife and son ran off with some guy. Veins violently popped on Feng Xin's forehead, roaring his curses on the spot. What the fuck? Aren't you guys tired of this? How many months have you all pushed me on this? Also, it's ran away, not ran off with some guy. Stop fucking spreading empty rumors. Those gossipy junior officials were terrified and hastily fled. Mu Qing stood on the side with his hands tucked in his sleeves. You might as well not have explained yourself, it only sounds even more embarrassing. Feng Xin was outraged, seizing a broom on the side, then threw it over. Mu Qing caught it instantly, and snorted. This is old. You can't use this on me anymore. Feng Xin was about to yell some more when Xie Lian walked over and stuffed another broom in his hands. Oh good, then how about this? Why don't both of you help me sweep this yard? We set off some firecrackers earlier, so the ground is covered in red scraps. Thanks. If you get bored you can train some idioms, okay? After an hour, outside the temple came the rowdy noise of human voices, coming closer and closer. The several people in the yard looked out, and after another while, a large crowd of people came pouring into the yard of Puqi Shrine, shouting, Is it here? It's here. Oh ho, looks pretty impressive too. There's really rice, so much rice. And meat too. The grounds that Feng Xin and Mu Qing had just swept were once again filthy from that giant crowd of muddy feet. Mu Qing gripped his broom, looking like he felt someone had infected him with fleas, and his eyes were widened. What's with those beggars? Before the crowd of beggars was a man leading, his hair mussed, his clothes sweaty. It was Shi Qingshan. He hobbled and hopped over, putting his hands together in courtesy. Your Highness, I've come to disturb you. So how about it? Did what you agreed to last time still stand? Xie Lian laughed. Everyone is very welcome, of course it stands. Please have a seat, have a seat. Isn't this too many people? Mu Qing wondered. No, Shi Qingshan said. All the old masters who helped in guarding the human array at the royal capital last year are here. At the time when they were guarding the human array, Shi Qingshan had promised the others that after the deed was done everyone would be treated to chicken legs. Everyone was included, but after the deed was done, no one could be found, so that chicken leg treat was naturally never given. Today, they could finally fulfill the promise, and bowl after bowl of chicken leg noodles was delivered. Shi Qingshan called out, Everyone, no need to hold yourselves back today. Let's eat. The crowd of beggars squeezed from the tables to the ground, each of them cheering, then hugged their super big bowls, slurping and slurping, chomp and chomp. As they ate, someone suddenly spoke up. Wait, something's wrong. There's the essence of evil. The crowd turned their heads to look, and that small band was actually Heaven's Eye and Company. Xie Lian felt his head ache. How come you guys came too? We've helped out last time too, Heaven's Eye said. So why can't we come? Then he raised his bowl high up, his expression serious. Everyone, listen to me, I am definitely not wrong on this. There's essence of evil in the food in these bowls, so it's probably nothing good. It's very suspicious. Put your bowls down, quick. No one acknowledged him. The crowd of beggars had already finished eating around, each raising their empty bowls. Another one. Feng Xin and Mu Qing were using their brooms to fight while sweeping away the yard full of red scraps left over from firecrackers. But when they saw all the others look so content and fulfilled eating, they sat down too, picking up a bowl. Just then, Heaven's Eye exclaimed furiously, "How come none of you listen to reason?" Then he got up ready to go check the kitchens, but Shi Qingchen held him back. "Really, Dao Zhang, you think too much. This is Crimson Rain Sought Flowers territory, so it's normal to have essence of monsters and demons." Fine, you're concerned, are you? I'll go take a look. You just sit there and don't get too excited. He really did rise to his feet and walked to where the kitchens were, lifting the curtains. "You see, what's there to be suspicious?" Xie Lian spoke up. "Wait, I'll go look too." However, when he, Shi Qingchen, Feng Xin, and Mu Qing poked their heads in and looked, they were all stunned. Inside the kitchen, there was a hunk of a boar butcher who was chopping on the cutting board like mad, and if it wasn't for all the pork legs hung behind him, they'd think it was human legs he was chopping. On the side, fire was lit under a giant pot, and within the pot was a long-necked rooster spirit who was having the time of his life scrubbing himself. When he saw there were people from the outside who'd seen him, he instantly screamed, his hands covering his chest. Xie Lian was completely baffled, and hurried inside to whisper, "Didn't I say you can't do this?" The rooster spirit cockled and slapped his chest in promise. "Granduncle, we've taken our baths before coming, very clean. Besides, this soup base has the effect of longevity, eating this won't harm anyone. No loss. Can consume with peace of mind." Shi Qingchen silently dropped the curtains while Feng Xin and Mu Qing instantly threw away their bowls, spitting. "I'd rather you cook." Xie Lian rubbed his forehead, feeling both amused and woeful. They were adamant in helping, I couldn't say no. They're doing this out of goodness. Right then, Heaven's Eye seemed to finally found the group of them sneaking around rather suspicious, and came over too. Xie Lian quickly stopped him. "What is it?" He was afraid that once Heaven's Eye saw the boar butcher and the others, he was going to start another riot. Yet unexpectedly, Heaven's Eye didn't come for those in the kitchen, but straight for him. He circled Xie Lian a few times and wondered in confusion. "That's weird. What is?" Xie Lian asked. Heaven's Eye appeared puzzled and confused. "This isn't right, Xie Daozhang. How come the essence of evil on your body has gotten worse than last time?" Xie Lian lightly cleared his throat. Mu Qing humphed. "Hanging around a ghost king all day, of course it'll get worse." However, Heaven's Eye said, "No, even then, it shouldn't be like this." "Like what?" Feng Xin questioned. After much hesitation, Heaven's Eye finally spoke bluntly. He said, "How come the essence of evil on your body is now internal? It's entirely emitted from the inside out of your body now. You've probably run into a major crime this time. What did you do? How come you're this ill?" Xie Lian can't even cough anymore. His entire face was going to burst with blood. Feng Xin and Mu Qing didn't understand at first, but after they thought about it, they both turned to stare at Xie Lian and fell silent. Shi Qingchen was the only one who didn't wrap his head around it. "What is it? And so? What's going on? Your Highness, are you really ill? Does Crimson Rain Sought Flower know? He didn't take a good care of you?" No. It was because of him that it's like this." Xie Lian mumbled softly, Actually, no, don't. I think, why don't you, A mess of images were filling his mind, and he confusedly uttered a pile of meaningless words. Suddenly, his back bumped into someone's chest. An arm wearing a silver vambrace circled his waist, and a familiar voice smiled hummingly. "I think, why don't you all return to your seats, eat your food, and stop worrying about anything else? How's that?" With this current situation, Xie Lian really didn't know whether if he should feel absolved or even more awkward, and he exclaimed, "San Lang!" The moment they saw Hua Cheng emerge, both Feng Xin and Mu Qing's faces looked complicated. But before Xie Lian, they couldn't really say anything. Only Shi Qingshan still questioned very seriously, "Crimson Rain Softflower, have you checked over His Highness' body?" Xie Lian slapped his forehead, desperately hoping Shi Qingshan wouldn't ask any more questions. Just then, the crowd of beggars started complaining. "One more bowl. Add more meat. This chicken soup is so bland. Add more salt." Mu Qing couldn't watch anymore. "Do you all know this is a temple? It's for worshipping gods. Can you all watch yourselves a bit more?" However, the crowd of beggars refused to take this. Last time, they held hands with many heavenly officials to hold down the human array. And they saw with their own eyes how some heavenly officials were trembling, fleeing last minute, and couldn't even match them in valor. They were also acquainted with Shi Qingshan, so they couldn't help but feel so gods are like this. When life was on the line, they didn't seem that different than them, and so the gods no longer appeared so high and unapproachable, harsh and inviolable. Suddenly, a surprised scream came from within the kitchen. "Who's there?" Hearing this, Xie Lian's heart instantly lurched and dashed into the kitchen. The boar butcher and the rooster spirit were screaming and shouting inside, and Xie Lian hastily comforted them. Calm down. Calm down. What's happened?" The rooster spirit was so shaken goosebumps popped all over his body. "Granduncle, there's a ghost. A ghost emptied all the food we've prepared. I only just dipped my head under the broth, and when I came up there was not a bowl left. It's a ghost." The boar butcher spat. "What are you so scared for? Aren't you a ghost yourself?" Xie Lian was slightly perplexed. "How can that be? I clearly saw you guys make 50-some bowls just now." "Yes. But when he looked again, sure enough, all 50-some bowls were empty, and even the broth was completely cleaned out." Xie Lian was still feeling puzzled when he suddenly thought of someone, and when he turned around he saw Hua Cheng was leaning against the door. "San Lang, could this be?" "More than likely," Hua Cheng replied flatly. "N." Xie Lian mused. "He probably also came to congratulate. Of course he's welcome, but he ate a bit much. Now he's eaten all the food. What should we do?" Hua Cheng smiled. "Nothing." Add to his interest, the mob of troubled ghosts from Ghost City resignedly started to cook from scratch. Just then, clamoring noises from the great hall in the yard, sounding as if someone started quarreling with another person. Xie Lian was just about to go to mediate when Hua Cheng caught his hand and took him out through a side door. The two walked out of Puqi Shrine holding hands. Upon the path there were trees blocking the way, and it would have been easier to traverse if they dropped their hands. But neither of the two wanted to let go of the other's hands, so they twisted and turned, teetering and deviating. As they meandered, Xie Lian asked, "San Lang, where are we going now?" "It's too noisy here," Hua Cheng said. "Let them go riot. We'll leave first." Xie Lian walked as he turned his head back, sounding a little worried. "Are we letting them be? Puqi Shrine was only rebuilt. What if it caves in from the fight again?" Hua Cheng didn't seem to care. "If it caves in, it caves in. We'll just build another one. If Gerger wants, you can build as many as you wish." Night time, within Xiandang Temple. After bathing, Xie Lian was wearing a light, snow-white inner robe, leaning over the jaded table next to the divan, drawing stroke after strokes. He was putting together a calligraphy copybook for Hua Cheng. Hua Cheng was reclined on the divan next to him, also wearing an inner robe, his collar slightly open, and his fingers were twiddling that red coral pearl at the tail end of his hair, looking bored to death. Under the lamplight, tepid like jade, he had been gazing at Xie Lian all this time, and after having stared for a while did he squint his eyes, appearing satisfied. He sighed. "Gerger, enough with that. Come rest now." Xie Lian had just suffered his torment, and was resolute in not being tricked again. This tone of voice, however, made the tip of his ears burn, and he forced himself to stay calm, continuing to write. He said with a serious voice, "No, San Lang, someone said your writing is ugly again today. You have to practice hard, alright? Otherwise, I don't want anyone to know you've been taught by me." Hua Cheng rose up slightly, arching his brows. "Gerger, I remember, in the past you clearly said you liked my writing." Ever since Hua Cheng had come back, for a long period of time Xie Lian was yielding and docile, answering his every request, and this was probably how he had finally spoiled Hua Cheng rotten as he grew more and more sly. Xie Lian finished writing the characters and placed the brush down, sounding even more strict. "Knock it off. I'm done. Come practice." Thus, Hua Cheng lazily shuffled to Xie Lian's back, hugging his waist, and bent slightly, resting his head on his shoulder. He removed that red coral pearl from his hair and placed it on the paper, making it chase after Xie Lian's hand, rolling around, purposely obstructing Xie Lian from writing properly. Such mischief, but so forceful in vaunting his sense of presence. Xie Lian remembered how Heaven's Eye had said his entire person was emitting the essence of evil. All over his body, from the inside out. This was all Hua Cheng sent, and Xie Lian felt his heart go soft in spite of himself. He struggled lightly and whispered, "Write properly." "Fine. I'll listen to Gerger," Hua Cheng said. He raised his brush, but after 2 verses he put it back down. Xie Lian took a look and shook his head, mentally sighing for the umpteenth time. "It's hopeless." After a pause, he also raised a brush and helped Hua Cheng fill in the last 2 verses. After he was done, Xie Lian blew lightly and picked up the paper, the two admiring the poem they've written together. The ink upon the paper had formed the 4 elegant phrases that had spread throughout heaven and earth. After the vast sea, waters are no longer waters. After Mount Wu removed, clouds are no longer clouds. Crossing through blossoms, the eye is lazy. Half fate in cultivation, half fate in the one. Even Yiming, who was hanging by the tableside, was watching unblinkingly with its eye open wide, seeming to fully admire the work. Hua Cheng laughed. "Gerger, quick, sign your name. These words will surely stun the future generations, passed down through the ages." Xie Lian had already authored Hua Cheng's name at the bottom earlier, but when he heard him, he really couldn't pick up the brush to add his own name. Hua Cheng finished laughing and pretended to be serious. "Gerger, are you embarrassed? I'll help you." Then, he held Xie Lian's hand and wrote a couple words with rough strokes. Naturally, without this current scene, no one would be able to tell those were 2 words, and no one would be able to tell at all it was Xie Lian's name. Xie Lian watched this thing written by his own hand, feeling ridiculous, wriggling his head by Hua Cheng's chest. Suddenly, he felt those couple of words looked familiar, as if he had seen it somewhere before. A moment later, he remembered, and his eyes suddenly brightened. He exclaimed, "San Lang, on your arm." He caught hold of Hua Cheng's small arm, and pulled up his sleeve, exclaiming excitedly, "It's this." That period of time when the two had lived together in Puqi Shrine, there was one day when Xie Lian had noticed a worded tattoo on Hua Cheng's arm, looking like some characters from a foreign land. At the time he had even chewed on it in his mind, but he had never imagined that it wasn't some foreign writing at all. Turns out, it was his own name. Hua Cheng also glanced at his own arm and laughed. "Does Gerger finally recognize it?" "I should have recognized it a long time ago," Xie Lian said. It's just Hua Cheng's writing truly was the craft of the devil. He needn't have said anything and Hua Cheng could guess what he was thinking, and he started laughing heartily, a hand hugging Xie Lian's waist, giving his forehead a gentle peck. "Don't worry, it's fine as long as Gerger's writing is beautiful. I'll be a million times happier than if my writing was beautiful." Xie Lian's hand caressed where the tattoo was. The ink of the tattoo was deep, and it was easy to imagine just how painful it had been. He asked softly, "Was this done when you were little?" Hua Cheng smiled and pulled his sleeve down, nodding. Then that was definitely something he had tattooed himself. Picturing the image of a small boy sneakily carving the name of the one he admired, such childishness, such courage. 10 fingers clasped tightly together with a red string entangled between. Suddenly, before Xie Lian's vision floated that scene of a year ago when Hua Cheng had dissipated into butterflies in Mao Tonglu. That last moment, Hua Cheng said something. Although it was soundless, Xie Lian still knew exactly what he said. It was the words Hua Cheng had enforced since he was a child, and eternally thereafter beyond his death. "I am forever your most loyal believer." Folklore. Once upon a time, they say in the common world, there's a scrap immortal. Although he is called the scrap immortal, but what this immortal blessed weren't scrap collectors but the piece of the mortal realm. This is because at the same time, he is also the strongest of martial gods. There is no evil he could not vanquish, there is no demon he could not slay. He possessed the power to annihilate the world, but he does not lack the heart to cherish the flower. However, to worship a god there comes a set of rules and taboos. If one was to come by a temple that worshipped this immortal, one must never prostrate so casually. Apparently, this scrap immortal has a special constitution and will summon misfortune. Don't believe it? Prepare a dice, rub the hand of the immortal's divine statue, roll the dice, and your luck would for sure be the worst there is. So, to pray to this scrap immortal's dusty white divine statue might bring more and more bad luck the more one prayed. To the point where even water can get stuck between teeth. See ghosts when wearing Taoist robes. They also say in the common world that there is such a red-robed ghost king. Although this ghost king is considered to be inhuman, he possessed an immense number of worshippers. And there are often those who would secretly set up the shrine of the ghost king in their own abodes, worshipping day and night, praying for good fortune. This is because, not only is this ghost king invincible, it appears he had never tasted a single defeat, and his luck is comparably powerful. Don't believe it? Before rolling the dice, prostrate before him. If he is willing to assist, then your next roll would definitely be exceptional. However, ghosts aren't like gods, so naturally there are even more taboos. While this ghost king is powerful, his personality is peculiar and extreme. If he's happy, he'll help you even if you don't pray. If he's displeased, you can give 1,000 gold and he would still turn away. If he was very displeased, who knows if one day he'll just take your life. So, by the same logic, it's best to show your respects but stay far away. However, if people worship the divine statues of this one god and one demon together, then there will be a miracle. That red-robed ghost king will expel all the misfortune enveloping the scrap immortal, and let him reveal his true appearance. People will shockingly discover that, turns out, the scrap immortal's colors aren't dusty white, but shimmering gold. Legends are usually based on truth. However, this is probably a tale of a long, long time ago. Maybe it'd even need to be told starting from 800 years ago, and it would be a very, very long tale to tell. People might not have the patience to listen. But what can be certain is, in order to both of them display their strongest powers, the two must be worshipped together. This way, one can receive twice the fortune, and double the invincibility. By the heaven official's blessing, no paths are bound. End of Book 5. End of story. Heaven